everybody. Happy Friday. Thank you for being here. Welcome to the Lymph Lounge, the podcast about cultivating a state of flow in our bodies and in our lives. So sit back and relax because today we are discussing NO-vember, lymph drainage myths, as well as hydration. So let's get into it. Today, I want to talk about a trend I recently heard of, actually last year, called NO-vember. So, the NO-vember challenge is an opportunity to practice saying no to those things that don't serve you anymore. Let's not forget that self care is also establishing healthy boundaries, and saying no to what doesn't serve us is certainly one of them. And especially for women, a lot of us have such a hard time putting ourselves first. I think the NO-vember challenge is a great time right before the holidays. And you never know, you might enjoy saying no so much that you keep this habit after. Who knows? But it is no coincidence that we feel this way in November. According to traditional Chinese medicine, and I am big on following the body flow throughout the year, throughout the seasons. So in traditional Chinese medicine, autumn, also called fall, which is right around the time of the fall equinox to the winter solstice. So that season focuses on the lungs and the large intestine. And spiritually, these let us tune into what we want to have by breathing in through the lungs and what we want to let go of by bowel movements. And that is before we get into our most reflective time of the year, which is the winter. So when we're talking about what to let go of, here's a few examples. It can be something that is no longer relevant to you. It can also be something that is holding you back. Sometimes the things we need to let go of doesn't have to be an external thing. Maybe it is an internal belief or a mindset that you have. It can also be self-imposed limitations. It can be something that is no longer working. Maybe it worked well for you in the past and now it is no longer working. Maybe it is something that is costing you more than it is worth or not aligned with your values anymore. Values that you have outgrown. Maybe it is something to let go that is no longer inspiring you, that is causing you too much stress, or is no longer bringing you the joy that you once had. Or maybe there are things that you feel are no longer worth the hassle anymore. You deserve better, or you feel ready for some change. Change can be scary, but it can also be exciting. So if you feel you are stuck in a rut, that could be a sign that you're ready for a change. So let's let go of what's holding you back and see where life takes you. And learn to say no in November. No is a complete sentence. We don't always have to say yes to everything, and we don't even have to justify it, saying no. And I think we are 1,000,000% allowed to be honest with why we're not saying yes to ourselves. Will you tick some people off? Maybe. But the more you lean into the no, the sooner others will respect your boundaries. Plus, this challenge isn't about pleasing everyone else. Once you're honest with yourself and you say, this is not a priority for me right now, I think you're just much more aligned with who you are and what you want. And then you can make choices that feel good for you. Is exercise a priority? Schedule it first. Do you want some alone time with your significant other? Get it on the calendar and stick to it. Always remember you're no good to everyone else if you're not good to you first. Give yourself the space and grace to challenge yourself in November. You'd be surprised at how much easier it gets with practice. So I want to know, are you going to practice NO-vember this month? And if so, I would love to hear how it's going or how it went for you. Okay, so for this week's featured topic, I want to talk about some lymphatic myths that keep coming back over and over again. You may have heard of some, or some may be completely new information for you. And of course, this list is probably not complete. I probably have some that will probably pop in my mind after I'm done. So I might do another segment of this later on. So first one, the myth that the lymph can't move by itself. So there's 3 ways the lymph can move. First, with blood circulation. So most of the lymph vessels follow the blood vessels. They're very close together. So when the blood is actually pumping, it massages the lymph vessels at the same time. So it helps to pump the lymph at the same time. So anything that stimulates circulation will help lymph circulation. The second thing is deep breathing. So by breathing down into your stomach, you expand the diaphragm, and right behind the diaphragm muscle is the cisterna chyli, which is a large lymph vessel that drains about 70% of the lymph in the lower limbs and the lower body. So by deep breathing, you are actually stimulating lymph flow. And the third way is by muscle activation. Muscle activation squeezes a lot of the lymph vessels that are located right under the skin. So whenever you do muscle activation, whether stretching, yoga, or exercise, you are actually stimulating lymph flow at the same time. So those are the natural ways you can stimulate lymph flow. And of course, a fourth way is manual lymph drainage, the process of actually activating the body's own way of draining lymph. So just to recap, the lymph does move a little bit by itself, and it can benefit a lot from the support of manual lymph drainage techniques. Second myth, the lymph is more important than the blood. I saw this somewhere on social media. I tried to find it. I couldn't remember where I saw it, but I saw it recently, and it is a myth because both are important. Lymph actually is part of the blood. It is, those circulations are interconnected, lymph circulation, blood circulation. They cannot be separated. They cannot be made one more important than the other. They both work together to cleanse and nourish the body. So that is a myth. The lymph is just as important than the blood, and the blood is just as important than the lymph. Third myth I'd like to share with you is that the main purpose of lymph drainage or manual lymph drainage techniques is to flush waste. It is partially true, but it can be considered a myth because lymph drainage also brings in regenerative materials and also your immune system. It helps it flow in the body better. So the main purpose, quote unquote, of manual lymph drainage is to do all of this at the same time. So it doesn't just flush waste. It is one of the things that it does, but it does all three things at the same time. So flush waste, bring in regenerative material, which is protein, fats, water, and helps your immune system flow better. Fourth myth is that manual lymph drainage is helpful when your lymph nodes are swollen. Or another part of this myth could be that you should seek lymph drainage only when you have swelling in areas of your body. They kind of go together. Swollen lymph nodes are actually a contraindication, which means a condition that prevents you from receiving manual lymph drainage. You should wait until your lymph nodes are no longer swollen. When your lymph nodes are swollen, it's actually your body analyzing information. So your lymph nodes, one of their jobs is to analyze whatever material needs to be analyzed to see if it's a threat or if it's safe. So when your lymph nodes are swollen, they are actively processing and analyzing something, and you do not want to interfere with that process. So it is best to wait until your lymph nodes are no longer swollen. Second part of this myth, don't wait until you have swelling. When you have swelling, it means the lymphatic system is already in distress. This is why I promote manual lymph drainage techniques or any form of lymph drainage therapy as an overall wellness habit in your lifestyle. Don't wait until things need help, especially when it comes to lymph drainage. The lymph drainage helps to support all the other systems in the body. So to me, it is the perfect treatment just as part of a healthy lifestyle. Now, let's move on to the fifth myth about lymph and lymph therapy. So something I get often is that a lot of people think that manual lymph drainage is for lymphedema patients only. And yes, it is a technique that is very beneficial for lymphedema or lipedema. But like I said with the previous myth, it really helps to support the body as a whole and like for holistic wellness. So not just for lymphedema. Something else I get often, so myth number 6, is that you have to do a full body when you do get a drainage done. And it cannot be further from the truth. It is a total myth, because true manual lymph drainage, we will customize your treatments to your needs. So it could be neck, it can be breast area, it can be abdomen, upper back, lower back, arms, legs. And it's actually not a good idea to do full body because it could be a lot for the body to handle. So no, you do not have to do the full body. Number 7 is probably my biggest pet peeve, but I'm coming to terms with it because it's being used a lot. It is not a massage. So real manual lymph drainage is not a massage. And I think it's still important to share because I have people coming in who think it's going to be an aggressive, deep tissue type massage, and it's not at all. It is a very, very light therapy for the most part. There are some areas where we have to go a little bit deeper, but we never work on the muscles. We're not targeting the muscles at all. And it is a very feather-like rhythmic technique, very light. Which brings me to my next myth, which is you have to be a massage therapist to do lymph drainage. There are a lot of naturopaths, lots of beauty therapists as well in the beauty industry for cosmetic purposes. So it's not only limited to massage therapists. And actually, if we look at the history of lymph drainage, in the 1930s, the early 1930s, when the water technique was created, they actually brought it to the health industry, and the health industry kind of laughed at them. But then the beauty industry noticed it, and they were like, hey, come over here. We want to learn more. And that's how it actually started. But then eventually, the health industry got more familiar with it, and it got more accepted. But it's just to say that you do not have to be a massage therapist to perform lymph drainage. And again, along those same lines, the next myth I want to cover is you don't need additional training to perform lymph drainage treatments. You just need to know where the lymph flows or where it goes, and then you massage that way. And that's not how it works. You have to start with certain areas. You have to go a certain way. There's different techniques you can use in order to move the lymph, and those will differ. So it's kind of a little puzzle that we put together for each person. And that does require additional training because it is not a massage. It's not massage techniques. And it's not just about where the lymph flows. And the last one is, and that's probably my biggest one. So the 10th myth that I want to share with you is that it produces results. I didn't quite know how to word this one, but I see a lot of before and afters on social media. It's like immediately after one treatment, you see the abdomen completely caved in. And I get requests all the time from clients to get those results. And if I focus on giving you those results, then we're missing the whole point of all the benefits of manual lymph drainage. Again, I will never get tired of repeating this, but it is a technique to help support a healthy lifestyle, to help support overall wellness. It's not about the cosmetic benefits. You might get cosmetic benefits down the road, superficial visual benefits, because the tissues are healthier. But instant benefits with one service, my experience is telling me that we're missing the whole point there. So this is what I had for you today to share with you my top 10 myths that I see about lymph and lymph drainage. If there are any that surprises you, anything new that you've learned, please share with me. I would love to hear. For the free resource for this week, I want to talk about hydration. And hydration goes beyond just drinking more water. Don't forget that if you want your own PDF copy of what we're going to talk about today for the free resource with a few additional tools, make sure you join the newsletter at lymphinitiatives.com/newsletter. You will have access to not only today's PDF, but also all of the past PDFs that I've shared since the beginning of the year. Now, onto the topic of hydration. Water is the most important nutrient in the body, and proper hydration is critical for optimal health and vitality. I'm probably not teaching you anything new here. It is essential for transporting nutrients and waste, protecting tissues, and facilitating cellular metabolism and communication. Fun fact, the average adult carries 10 to 13 gallons of water inside of them. And it is said that most people can go up to 8 weeks without food, but only days without water. Why is that? Because water is essential to so many body processes. If you think you already drink enough water, yes, you may be drinking a large quantity, but hydration also depends on water quality. So we're talking about purity and mineral content. So when it comes to purity, water can be contaminated with pathogenic microorganisms or toxicants or even heavy metals, pesticides, and endocrine disrupting chemicals. This has been shown. So finding a pure drinking water source or effective filtration system is important for reducing exposure to those contaminants that can prevent your body from absorbing the water that you're drinking. And when we're talking about the quality, we're also talking about mineral content. So beyond the contaminants you do not want in your drinking water, there are nutrients that you do want. We're talking about the major minerals, so sodium, potassium, magnesium, calcium, and several trace minerals as well. Not only do those minerals make the water you drink more hydrating, so think of an electrolyte boosted sports drink, for example, it's kind of the same idea. They are essential for proper muscle contraction, nerve signaling, digestion, liver function, and much more. So look for a water source that preserves these natural minerals or adds them back into your purified water. So here's some tips on how to improve hydration. You can add salt and lemon to your water. A pinch of Himalayan or Celtic salt in your water provides the electrolytes to improve hydration. Also, maybe go easy on the diuretics throughout the day. So coffee, soda, and even fruit juices are diuretics that pull water from the cells rather than hydrating them. So make sure there is a balance. And you can also sip water between meals and not with your meals. So too much liquids or too much water with meals can actually dilute stomach acid and enzymes. So sip water in between meals instead to improve both digestion and hydration. All right, this is what I had for you today in the Lymph Lounge. Again, this podcast is available on Pocket Casts, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify podcast platforms, as well as my own website, lymphaditives.com/podcast in the form of a blog post and also on YouTube. So make sure you go ahead and follow and turn on notifications depending on which platform you are listening or watching from. Have a great weekend, everybody, and I will see you in the next episode.